Mangwanani Mwalelepo Fukenjani Kleklas Manave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, your daily news update bringing you the latest and most important stories from across the continent on DSTV 285, GoTV 25, OneUp2.com and NTV Africa on YouTube. Today we cover a range of key stories, including Laurent Gbagbo's Enough is Enough campaign in Ivory Coast, despite being ineligible to run for president. We also highlight BBC's investigation into the deadly shooting of anti-tax protesters in Kenya, where security forces are identified as responsible. In Yemen, at least 68 African migrants were tragically killed in a U.S. airstrike on a detention center. Talent Gore will also bring us the latest stories from Zimbabwe, including the European Union scrapping duty on Zimbabwean exports. All this and more on your reliable source for Africa's latest news. My name is Ashwin Berry. Top stories shortly.
Taking flight has never been easier. Paratus is introducing Sky-Fi internet packages with speeds that will have you reaching for your seatbelts, starting from $500 Namibian excluding VAT per month, with speeds reaching up to 10 megabits per second. There's even a prepaid option where you can top up your Sky-Fi internet for just $15 Namibian per gigabyte. No contracts, no fuss. Visit your nearest Paratus branch to find out more. Or go to paratus.africa/Namibia to sign up online.
Always prepared, Paratus.
Let's get into the top stories. Determined to play a role in the upcoming presidential election, despite his ineligibility to stand as a candidate, Laurent Gbagbo launched a campaign dubbed Enough is Enough. He said it aims to draw attention to the country's oppressed. This is in Ivory Coast. Gbagbo's African People's Party met in Abidjan and instructed its cadres to advance the campaign. We must unite all those who have something to lament. Is life too expensive for you? We'll open the doors to you. Enough is enough. Gbagbo told officials that activists gathered at the party's offices. 79-year-old, he ruled Ivory Coast from 2000 to 2011 and expressed his desire to stand for president, but cannot do so due to a criminal conviction. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison by an Ivorian court for charges related to serious post-election crisis, which left some 3,000 dead. The Enough is Enough campaign aims to put pressure on President Alassane Ouattara, whose rule has delivered impressive economic growth, but dogged by high poverty levels and a cost of living crisis. Ouattara has remained mute about his future, with speculation mounting that he will seek a new mandate. The members of Kenya's security forces who shot dead anti-tax protesters at the country's parliament last June have been identified by the BBC. The BBC's analysis of more than 5,000 images also shows that those killed there were unarmed and not posing a threat. The East African nation's constitution guarantees the right to peaceful protest, and the deaths caused a public outcry. Despite a parliamentary committee ordering Kenya's Independent Police Oversight Authority, IPOA, to investigate the deaths on the streets of the capital, Nairobi, and make public its findings, no report regarding the killings at Parliament has yet been issued, and no one has been held to account. The BBC World Service team analyzed videos and photos taken by protesters and journalists on the day. They determined when each was taken using camera metadata, live stream timings, and public clocks visible in the shots. They plotted 3 of the killings on a 3D reconstruction of Kenya's parliament, allowing them to trace the fatal shots back to the rifles of a police officer and a soldier. At least 68 African migrants were killed and 47 others critically injured when a U.S. airstrike hit a migrant detention center in Houthi-controlled Sada province, Yemen, according to Houthi-run media outlet Al Masirah, which showed graphic images of bodies beneath rubble. The U.S. military has not commented, but U.S. Central Command said it has struck more than 800 targets since President Donald Trump ordered an escalation of operations against the Houthis on 15 March, killing hundreds of fighters and leaders tied to missile and drone programs, while Houthi authorities say civilians are bearing the brunt of the strikes. The targeted detention center reportedly held 115 African migrants trying to cross into Saudi Arabia, with many facing exploitation, detention, and violence along migration routes, according to the International Organization for Migration, which reported nearly 61,000 migrant arrivals in Yemen last year. Virunga National Park in the DRC is a natural treasure in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, marking its 100th anniversary this year despite facing immense challenges due to ongoing conflict in the region. Located in North Kivu, the UNESCO World Heritage Site has been struggling with insecurity over 2 decades. Around 35% of its 7,800 square kilometers are illegally exploited, primarily for agriculture and charcoal production. Armed groups, including the Rwanda-backed M23 and the Allied Democratic Forces, frequently use the park as a refuge, making it a dangerous environment for those working to protect it. Amos Paluku, an officer with the Congolese Institute for Nature Conservation, shared that eco-guards near Rumangabo are often attacked by armed groups they do not even recognize. Paluku called on the international community to support their efforts and put pressure on these armed groups. Now, the threat of violence has not spared even the most senior staff. In 2014, Emmanuel de Merode, the director of Virunga National Park, survived an assassination attempt when he was shot by armed men in the road to Rumangabo. Over 300 eco-guards have been killed over the past 2 decades by armed groups and poachers, while the exploitation of the park's resources generates approximately $30 million a year for these groups. This has also led to the disappearance of numerous species and ecosystems. Nature Ambassador Blessing Muhiwa noted that the animals in the park have learned to view humans as a threat, with very few animals remaining due to the ongoing war. Virunga is particularly known for being home to over a third of the world's endangered mountain gorillas. Additionally, it provides 70% of Goma's electricity needs and creates many jobs for local residents. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we head into the Zimbabwe report with Talent Gore, starting with the European Union scrapping duty on Zimbabwean exports. Stay with us. It's time to talk to our correspondent in Zimbabwe, Talent Gore. Talent Wamkase. Tamukahedu. Whilst America is imposing tariffs on everyone, including Penguin Islands talent, I don't know if you knew that, the European Union has scrapped duty on Zimbabwean exports. Tell us about this.
This was announced by the European Union ambassador to Zimbabwe. So, in a landmark move aimed at enhancing trade relations between Zimbabwe and the European Union, EU ambassador to Zimbabwe, George von Kishman, declared that Zimbabwean companies can now export any product to the bloc duty-free. The announcement comes at a time when the world was grappling with tariffs that were imposed by United States President Donald Trump recently and are viewed in some quarters as barriers to trade. The EU ambassador to Zimbabwe said that we have been participating at the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair for the past 2 or 3 years, which signifies our long-standing and reliable commitment to the Zimbabwean people. Amid global discussions on trade barriers, we are proud to say that any Zimbabwean company can export any product to the EU without tariffs or duty, he said. While some EU imports to Zimbabwe are subject to duties, this favorable export condition provides a significant opportunity for local businesses to thrive. So he made this announcement last week during the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair in Bulawayo. This is where he announced that Zimbabwean companies can now export their products to the EU duty free. So we haven't seen any companies actually exporting their products duty free, but I'm sure in the coming weeks, in the coming months, we have positive news, and most companies actually exporting their products duty free. So this is quite a remarkable achievement, rather, for those in business in Zimbabwe.
All right, very interesting development there indeed. Now, Blessed Geza, the former ZANU-PF Central Committee member who is now effectively a fugitive and had previously called on protests on 31 March, urging Mnangagwa's stepping down and ouster, also asked for a stay away. However, his call was unheeded as Zimbabweans go about business as usual.
Yes, Blessed Geza had called for an indefinite stay away. He had said that citizens and businesses should shut down until President Emmerson Mnangagwa had stepped down. So most businesses ignored his calls to begin an indefinite shutdown, and they went about their businesses. And right now, everyone is going about their business. Most of the people, they are selling, they're doing their business as usual. It's as if nothing had been said. And we also find out that the government had said that citizens should ignore Blessed Geza, and it is exactly what happened. In fact, the stay away was bound to fail because Zimbabwe's economy is informal. So you find out that most people, they depend on hand to mouth, and they have to go on their day-to-day businesses. If they stay at home, they cannot feed themselves. So most people ignored that call by Geza. But on the first day of the shutdown, or rather of the stay away, there was less movement in the central business district, in Harare Central Business District. But as time went on, people started going into towns, people started doing their business, and right now it's business as usual. And no one took heed of Geza's call to stay away from the central business district, or to stay away from businesses, until President Emmerson Mnangagwa has resigned. He had also said that food for the citizens was not a problem, and that they were going to set up stations where people can actually go and collect their food. And he had said that shops should actually give people food, and when the new government comes into play, they will be compensated. So no one actually took heed of that, and it's business as usual in Zimbabwe. And as of now, he hasn't said anything in regards to that, and people are just doing what they know best. And most people had predicted that it was going to fail because the Zimbabwean economy is informal. Most people depend on, or rather, they depend on a hand to mouth, so they have to go to work each and every day. They can't afford to stay at home.
All right, talent. Now to a rather disturbing update, but it is what it is. Bed bugs are haunting Harare residents.
Yes, the city of Harare last week confirmed an outbreak of bed bugs, and in Zimbabwe, rather, in the Shona name for bed bugs is Tsikidzi. So they were confirmed in high density suburb of Ambare, prompting authorities to launch an emergency pest control response. But ever since they did the emergency pest control response, the citizens, or rather the residents of Umbari, are still complaining that right now the bed bugs, they have become worse. It's as if they are resistant to the chemicals that were used to fumigate Mbare flats. And the Harare mayor, Jacob Mafume, has actually attributed, or rather, he has said that the bed bugs are caused by second-hand clothes which are primarily being sold in Mbare. And also you find out that Mbare Matapi, to be specific, the flats, they are not sanitary. A lot is going on in Bari. You find out that cholera outbreaks usually happen in Bari, and now there's the bed bug issue because they are overcrowded, and people there generally they stay in unsanitary houses and rooms within the flats. So you find out that bed bugs are bound to actually breed in those spaces. And right now there are reports that in other suburbs like Mfakosi, Kwazana and Mavuku, they have been reporting cases of bed bugs. So it seems as if the bed bugs issue is actually spreading across Harare, because in Mbare, that is where you find your second-hand clothing. Most people, they can't afford to buy new clothes. They go to Mbare to buy for their clothing. So people are suspecting that those people are going to buy clothes in Mbare. They are the ones who are actually carrying the bed bugs from Mbare and spreading it across the town. So the residents of Mbare and across Harare, they are saying that the city of Harare should do more in terms of fumigating the bed bugs before it becomes a national disaster.
Now, talent in your sport, Zimbabwe marked their first test victory since 2021, and they got it done in style in Bangladesh.
Yes, Zimbabwe edged past Bangladesh by 3 wickets in a thrilling finish on the fourth day of the first test in Bangladesh, chasing down 174, their highest successful run chase in Test cricket. The win marked Zimbabwe's first Test victory since 2021 and their fourth overseas Test triumph, with the previous one also coming against Bangladesh at the same venue in 2018. The team said that they were expecting Bangladesh to come really hard at them, and they were not expecting this to be an easy game. They had work to do, and they were thrilled that they got to beat Bangladesh in Bangladesh. So there's still some more games which need to be played. Zimbabwe is still playing against Bangladesh in the test, so more games are still being played. But right, this win was quite historic since Zimbabwe had last won a test in 2021.
All right, talent, truly fantastic news for Zimbabwe. Let's see how it goes as the series continues. But now, in entertainment, Zimbabwe's Linda Mudzenda dazzles in Britain's Got Talent, and understand she's a care worker.
Yes, and these words were said by Alicia Dixon, who's also a judge on the popular TV Britain Got Talent. She said, "Music speaks for you, and that's what you did tonight, and you are doing Zimbabwe so proud." She said this to Linda Mandeza, who dazzled the audience with a voice that echoed hope and resilience. Linda captured hearts and secured her place in the top three, a feat that resonated deeply with both her fans and her country. From the onset, Alicia was a champion for Linda, giving her the coveted golden buzzer that propelled her into the competition spotlight. Each performance was more powerful than the last, showcasing not just her vocal prowess but her ability to connect with the audience. And in a surprising yet heartwarming moment, even the notoriously tough judge Simon Cowell shared kind words with Linda. So Linda is now in the top three of the Britain Got Talent. And we are very proud of her for raising the Zimbabwean flag high. And we surely hope for the best for her as she goes into the next round.
Truly wonderful to see Zimbabwean talent recognized in such a manner overseas. Thank you very much, talent, who is just across the border, for bringing us the news stories from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good to have you on Africa. Good morning. Now, global military expenditure tops $2.7 trillion in 2024. More on this after indicators. Countries worldwide spent a record $2.7 trillion on military arms and weapons systems in 2024, marking the fastest rise in military expenditure since the end of the Cold War in 1989. The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute reported a 9% increase from 2023, driven largely by the ongoing war in Ukraine. Europe led the surge, with Germany emerging as the largest spender in that region, investing approximately $88 billion. The United States, by far the world's biggest military spender, increased its expenditure by 5.7%, reaching nearly $1 trillion, accounting for 37% of the global total. Other notable increases were seen in Russia, where military spending jumped 38% to $148 billion, and Israel, whose defense budget surged by 65%. Those have been our stories on Africa Good Morning. Thank you very much for joining us as we've taken a trip through the headlines making news across the continent. DSTV 285, GoTV 25, OneUp2.com, and Network Media Hub is precisely where you can find us. Tomorrow, we'll be swinging over to Botswana. But for now, from me, Ashwin Berry, and the Africa Good Morning team, Swera Jaganaka.